Hello. Welcome back to another edition of Rob Hunter TV. I have been trying to get on all week and have not been successful in doing that. But I am back and I wanted to I'm doing this as a special. I actually had something else that I wanted to. I actually wanted to stream an album review, but I didn't get the opportunity to do that. I'm gonna do that tomorrow, and I'm gonna do that one actually on Twitch because of YouTube has a tendency to shut down for copyright reasons. And then I'll put that stream if you don't catch it on YouTube. I'm sorry, if you don't catch it on Twitch, I will put it on Patreon so that it will continue, so that I have the opportunity. So you have the opportunity to see that in full and check out the that full stream. But today I wanted to talk about the as I was doing the Michael Jackson. I was doing the Michael Jackson breakdown with Quincy on the MJ piece to basically, every time I come on and I do a breakdown of anything, I always like to source my, source the content, source, my narratives, because I don't want to create the narrative and then try to find facts to support it. I look at the basic facts and then I have my takeaways from it. And as I was looking at clips from Michael and Quincy, I ran across one where Jermaine basically said that they're the only group in history to have 4 number 1 singles in a row. 4. And not have any Grammys. And then I looked into it and they only have 3 Grammy nominations, period. And of course they lost them all. I didn't know that. I'm like, how in the hell do the Grammys, how in the hell does a group as decorated as the Jackson 5, as impactful, as culturally impactful as the Jackson 5? I mean, they are the foundation, some would say, of the teen group, the boy band. They are the foundation of that. And if they're the foundation of the boy band, then by extension, they are the foundation for what would come one of the foundation or pivotal or one of the cinder blocks, if you will, the building pieces, the pillars. That's the word I was looking for. They are one of the pillars of pop music. And I didn't understand why don't they have a Grammy? And I'm not talking about these Grammys that they award like some weak ass Lifetime Achievement Award Grammy, like they did to Little Richard, like the kind of Grammy that they can't monetize, the kind of Grammy that doesn't give them the boost that they would need when they're in their moment. Not the Grammy, they need a walker to go up there to get the damn Grammy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a Grammy while they're in their moment and it's rightfully theirs and they continue to be snubbed. And so as I started to look at that, I started to look a little bit more deep into the Grammys history and some of the snubs. Obviously, most recently, we've had the chance to see Kendrick get an avalanche of Grammys. And that seemed a little weird given the beef between not only Kendrick and Drake, but obviously NARAS, the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, and Drake, and they had a common enemy, so they seemed to sort of team up. I mean, they gave Kendrick all these Grammys for a diss record, but Good Kid, Mad City got beat by Macklemore. Like, what are we talking about? And I thought it was whack then, and I think what the Grammys did over these last 2 years was whack now. See, a lot of y'all thought that the Grammys that Kendrick is getting right now is just due, but you didn't like the fact that Macklemore beat him for Good Kid, Mad City. You can't have it both ways. You can't like it when your guy gets the award, right? And then be like, oh, well, the Grammys ain't shit when your guy doesn't get the award. It don't work like that, okay? And I'm of the opinion that they was whacked then, and there was a little bit whack now. Not that Kendrick didn't deserve any Grammys, but we can definitely see that there was a trend that they were looking like the Grammys and Kendrick had a common enemy, and they used that opportunity to take advantage of that. But as I started looking into that, because I thought that was whack, and I looked at the Grammys and how they tend to award or their history of lack of awards, or whom they tend to recognize at the time, and they seem to consistently have missed that mark. And as I started to look, some of the snubs you may or may not be familiar with. So Bob Marley, if y'all don't know, Bob Marley has not only no Grammys, Bob Marley was never even nominated. This is a man that sold over 40 million records. Bob Marley's never been nominated for a Grammy. Shaggy got 2. Peter Tosh got a Grammy. Peter Tosh came from the Wailers. Peter Tosh got a Grammy, and Bob Marley ain't got no Grammys. We should have checked out then. We should have just been like, we should have stopped showing up at that moment. Diana Ross, no Grammys. Did y'all know that? I did not know that. I did not know Diana Ross has no solo Grammys. I was totally unaware of that. So we have these artists and we have these cultural shifting works of art that have consistently been snubbed by the Grammys. Tupac Amaru Shakur, 0 goddamn Grammys. Macklemore got a Grammy and Tupac ain't got no Grammy. I just want y'all to just understand what I'm talking about. Macklemore has a Grammy. Tupac ain't got not now Grammy. And even when they win, right? Let's take a look at Beyonce. All right, I'm looking at my notes now. Beyonce is the most awarded artist in the history of the Grammys, okay? But she has been systemically blocked from the top prize, right? She was nominated for Album of the Year 4 times. Sasha Fierce lost to Taylor Swift, the most infamous probably snub because of Kanye got up there and did what he did. And then Beyonce lost to goddamn Beck in 2015. What is that? Where is Beck? Has anybody heard from Beck? Has anybody heard? Beck probably felt so bad. He was just like, man, I'm a dip. I'm gonna take this award and get the hell on up out of it, because ain't no goddamn way in hell I know I should have beat the Beyonce album. And that was the name of the album, the Beyonce album. And then in 2017, Lemonade lost to Adele. Lord, in Jesus' name, and God bless Adele for saying I can't possibly accept this award. Beyonce is the artist of my life. Like shout out, because even Adele knew. But the Grammys, for whatever reason, decided that the third time was indeed not the charm. And then, of course, the one that really struck me was Harry Styles. Renaissance to me was just a masterpiece. Not that the other 3 records weren't deserving, but Renaissance hit me different. And I thought that Renaissance was easily going to take that home. And then Harry Styles with his self. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't even know who Harry Styles was. What a name, Harry Styles. Like who wants a style that's Harry? Anyway, having said that, Harry Styles beat Beyonce. And then the irony in this whole shit is that Beyonce won Album of the Year in 2025 for a country music album. Which was absolutely bizarre, right? So not for her R&B contributions. And Cowboy Carter should have won. Yes, it should have. Yes, it very much should have. Okay. I told people I may be the only straight male in the Beehive. Like if they allow men like me to be in the Beehive, like I want to write a letter to the Beehive delegation. Are straight men allowed in the Beehive? Because if so, I would like to submit my application to be inside the Beehive. Thank you very much. Anyway, getting back to the show. There have only been 3 other women to have won Album of the Year in the 68-year history of the Grammys. We got Natalie Cole, we have Whitney Houston, and we got Lauryn Hill, and now Beyonce. So they gave the award away 68 times. And so there's that. Busta Rhymes, another guy. No Grammys. He's got like 12 or 13 nominations. DMX had 2 albums in the top 10 in the same year at the same time. No wins. That's the only time I believe in the history that we've had an artist do that. And they got no win. And we've had multiple boycotts, right? We've had Jay-Z boycott. We've had probably, I believe the first boycott, if I'm not mistaken, was Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. We had Frank Ocean refused to submit Blonde for the Grammys. Drake hasn't submitted his music to the Grammys, I believe in 7 years. The Weeknd boycotted the Grammys after Binding Lights, which is the longest charting song in the history of all music, got 0 nominations in 2021. Called the Grammys corrupt and refuses to submit his music ever again. And so when you look at the history of the Grammys, and you look at just how they've gotten down, to me, in the immortal words of, I believe she's the first person to say this, of the famous poet Maya Angelou, God rest her soul. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Okay. And the Grammys have always had a sordid history, if you will. So when I start to look at the Grammys and their what it seems like a dirty little secret, there seems to be a cultural trade deficit of sorts. The music that we create we invented pop music, they invented jazz, they invented rock and roll. Clearly, they invented R&B, to name a few, right? And obviously hip hop. So this is basically not the only, but one of the only intellectual properties or properties at all that we cultivate from nothing. We build ourselves, the whole architecture of it, from the blueprint all the way to erecting the actual building, i.e. the song. So we find the artist, we write the song, we record the song, we mix the song, we master the song, and then we give the song away to a foreign entity to promote. Mostly, if you're going to big three, Warner Chappell, Sony, or Universal. Those are all foreign companies, right? It actually ends up being an American import, right? Because they're the ones who distribute and promote it. So we export basically our own music to be imported back to us by a foreign corporation. I'll get back to that point a little bit later. But having said that, we build this entire business, right? If the business is an album or a song, we build the entire thing from our own shared experiences, the urban experience as it relates to us growing up in underserved communities. And then we use that to create the art, right? With R&B and hip hop. Right. And these are the songs and this is the soundtrack for most of us, the minority experience in America. So we submit this work and we put it out there, but we wait on pins and needles for that work to be validated by people who don't share our experience or 9 times out of 10, our ethnicity, our cultural makeup. And that's to me, that don't even make no sense. Why are we waiting for the validation of basically the establishment to recognize work that they don't even understand and never been a part of? So it doesn't really make sense to me to all of a sudden be like, oh, excited that Kendrick got all these Grammys when you were just upset that in 2015 that Macklemore got it, or that now you're happy that Beyonce was recognized for a country album when we were just upset that Harry Styles got it a couple. Like if the award can't all of a sudden mean something because the person that you liked won the award or was recognized by a demographic or sector of people that have no idea what went into creating the art form, that have no idea, that don't create the culture, they don't curate the culture, but strictly profit from the culture. And I think that once we recognize, if you will, as a collective, that we don't necessarily need a seat at that table to be validated. I think that people who actually create the music should have the biggest voice at that table when recognizing the validity of the art form, right? I don't think that all of a sudden now that Kendrick has won, all of these Grammys, that validates him. But now when you see the arguments come up, a lot of times people who support Kendrick go, oh, he broke the record for the Grammys. Well, if his Grammys mean something now, then Macklemore's Grammys meant something then. You can't have it both ways. You just can't. I won't allow it. And then if we take it a step further, right? We look at Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson had a great Grammy, and I broke the record. I believe it was 8 or 9 Grammys he won for Thriller. But then his very next album broke the record for #1 singles, right? He released 5 #1 singles. No other album has done that before or since. It's the most dominant album that has been shut out of all the major music categories. No other album has had that distinction up under its belt and didn't win one motherfucking Grammy. Not one. Had 5 consecutive #1 singles. In the history of the Grammys, an album that dominant has never been shut out. I just wanted to say this kind of proves that the Grammys aren't a meritocracy, right? They are a political tool used to reward those who I believe play the game, right? If Neris and the political or their agendas align, I believe that oftentimes, especially the big awards, that's oftentimes how those awards get decided, right? Now, the little awards like best spoken word and best Navajo Indian, album. Maybe those are legit. Maybe those votes. I voted on the Grammys for a while. I voted for the Grammys for probably 4 or 5 years straight. Y'all don't know, I used to work in the record business. I was an A&R. I used to curate, find, and sign talent. So I worked. I don't know if it's the high level, but I helped curate. I helped bring some pretty notable writers into the building, and was a part of their development and a part of them creating their space in the music industry. Maybe I'll name them at some point. But I have been a part, and I have people who have won Grammys, and I have people in my circle who have been snubbed by the Grammys. And so anyway, having said, and I've had mentors who have won Grammys as well. And so my experience is I guess firsthand as it relates to like creating really good music and being a part of camps that have had people that have reached that height. But taking a step back and looking at how we wait on pens, because when we were creating, or when those people were creating those records, right? Those people the majority of the people who vote on the Grammys were nowhere around and have never been anywhere around even those shared experiences, right? I mean, understanding how a record label works. Some of the people who make some of the biggest decisions on the music that we consume have never even been in a recording studio. Some of the people don't even like music. These are people that are looking at spreadsheets that are deciding the music that we as a collective consume. We have three major labels, right? We've got Warner Chappell or Warner Music. We've got Sony, and we have Universal. Sony's a Japanese company. Universal is basically a Dutch and a French company ran by an Englishman. Okay, and Warner is owned by a gentleman of Russian heritage, Len Blavnitik. Blavnitik. Say that 3 times fast. Okay, you have urban music created in urban cities for the most part, being exported to foreign entities and redistributed to our communities on our DSPs. So the majority of the urban experience from a musical creative standpoint is in effect a foreign import, because they're getting the majority of the money. All of the revenue generated by hip hop and R&B, the majority of that revenue is going overseas, not back to the artist. Sony ATV, all the copyrights, all of the mechanical licensing, all of that stuff goes either to a Japanese company, to Warner, the headquarters is based in London, or either to Universal, ran by Lucian Grange. It's a Dutch company. So in France. So if you think about that, why are we doing that? Sauce Walka is an independent rapper from Houston. He looks at albums as hotels, and each song is a hotel room, and they're open for business. So some hotel rooms, rent out more than others. Some hotel rooms are suite. Those will be your singles. And, if the more hotels he creates, the more opportunities he has to make money, right? So why are we creating entire hotels or businesses, and we are basically giving up the entire right, well, not the rights, but giving up the majority of the revenue of that pie overseas? We can upload them to the DSPs ourselves, right? I mean, and there's other opportunities to keep 100% of your IP, DistroKid, TuneCore, places like that where we can actually create the whole entire pie, upload it there, and keep the majority of the money. I'm not saying don't be a partner with Universal, with Lucian, with Sony, or Warner. I'm not saying don't be a partner, but don't be a 20% partner, 15% partner. And then when you create it, then you wait for them to tell you if your work is valid enough to receive the industry's highest award, right? Why are we the biggest voices in that room? Why are we're the ones who have the shared experiences. We're the one that's telling the earth that it's hot. We set the cultural temperature. We are the tastemakers for the planet. R&B and hip hop. Hip hop in particular is the most consumed music in the world. It eclipsed rock. Hip hop is number one, and we don't even have an award show for it. The one little space of virtual real estate that we had, if you will, in BET, the one little space that we had, obviously Rob Johnson sold that to Viacom. right? And they just started letting it die piece by piece. So the one space that we had, that we controlled to put our intellectual property, we don't even have that anymore, right? And then now we are exporting our IP, which is our music, to foreign entities to be re-imported for us to consume. It is the most bizarre business model I think I've ever seen. And so I would like to submit to you guys, a kind of a call to action, like, creatives, to the creatives out there and to the executives. The tech is here. You can reach 500 million people right from your phone. Okay. The only desire that seems to be holding us back is the desire from validations from people who do not share our experience. Stop giving up your masters for a marketing budget that goes toward their lunch meetings. Start acting like a CEO, not just a creator. Own the title, keep the revenue in the ecosystem that actually gave it birth. We are the architects. So let's start acting like the owners. I will be back for another stream tomorrow. I'm gonna do Brent Faiyaz's album, who I actually absolutely adore. But I'm gonna stream that, and I'm gonna try to do a couple other things. I'm new to this format, trying to get used to it. I had some technical difficulties with some equipment. I had my laptop die. I had it right here. I don't know where it went. Anyway, my laptop died, and so now I have a new computer, and I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to try to come on here in the morning to stream that. That will be on Twitch. I want to thank everybody for checking in to this particular stream, and I will be back soon. Thank you so much once again. This is Rob Hunter TV, and I'm out.